In the previous video, I covered the topic of blurred lines between inspiration and plagiarism in the world of fanfiction. What happens when independent authors decide to monetize their work, and why do we as readers actually enjoy fanfiction? In this video, I will cover the flip side of this phenomenon. This time, I will talk about bad fanfiction, cringy fanfiction, bizarre fanfiction that makes you scratch your head in confusion and disbelief, and sometimes even makes you wish you could time travel to a time when you haven't read it yet. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? I create essays about pop culture and provide social commentary about things that rub me the wrong way. You can find all my fanfiction videos in a designated playlist on my channel. But enough self-promo, back to the topic. The wonderful world of bad fanfiction. It gave us so much without expecting anything in return. It gave us a reason to smile, a reason to cringe with our friends, a reason to feel better about our writing skills. But what makes fanfiction bad, and why do we secretly enjoy reading bad fanfiction so much? Fanfiction doesn't always have to be good. Most often, it just isn't. There are millions of people who are not professional writers but enjoy writing fanfiction and sharing it with the internet audience. But when a fanfic is bad, it is really bad, trust me. You will know when you see one. But how can you recognize a bad fanfiction? These are some common things that indicate that what you're about to read is a flaming piece of garbage. First things first, the grammar. Holy shit, the grammar is probably the biggest red flag of them all when it comes to bad fanfiction. And when I say that, I am not trying to shame anybody whose first language isn't English. Being bilingual is difficult, and you should never feel ashamed if you make a spelling mistake in a language that you didn't grow up with. English isn't my first language as well, even though I've been speaking it since I was 5. I still make occasional errors. What I'm talking about when I say bad grammar is a specific brand of bad grammar. You know exactly which one I'm talking about. Think about My Immortal for a second. This fanfiction was written in such a chaotic and illiterate way that the reader isn't sure if the bad grammar is unintentional or if it's a deliberate choice of self-parody. Just look at this paragraph and try not to have a stroke while reading. A lot of factors can contribute to bad grammar, but it's mostly because these fanfics are written by younger teenagers that still don't exactly have a grasp on grammar or spelling. Second, self-insert fanfiction. Oof. Self-insert fanfiction isn't always horrible, but mostly it is exactly that. Self-insert fanfiction, or more known as YN, Your Name fanfiction, is a subgenre of fanfiction where younger audiences usually write heterosexual fanfiction that acts as their wish fulfillment, granting them access to writing themselves as main characters that often fall into the Mary Sue category or trope. It is not unusual the Mary Sue trope originated in YN fanfiction, which is its most notable characteristic. Self-insert fanfics are extremely popular on Wattpad and in specific fandoms, or should I say bandoms. See, YN fanfics on Wattpad are usually about one of the more popular bands, whether they are boy bands like One Direction, K-pop bands like BTS, or rock bands like My Chemical Romance. The writer immerses themselves in a story which they have nothing to do with, create bizarre scenarios where famous band members are interacting with them and fulfilling their questionable fantasies. Let's take a look at one of the most famous perpetrators of this fanfic crime, and you guessed it, it's a One Direction fanfiction. Third, awful dialogues. Let's be real here, character development in fanfiction stories can either make or break the whole fanfic. That includes dialogues as well. Dialogues are probably the most prominent part of any fanfiction, apart from descriptive narration and introspective narration from a character's POV. If a dialogue is believable, the whole story seems more grounded in reality, and the immersion in the story is more complete. On the other hand, clumsy, rigid, and unimaginative dialogue sounds fake and makes a story less believable, and in the end, less enjoyable for the reader. A fanfic gets bonus negative points when the author tries to write dialogues in a lingo that they don't speak nor understand. The most common of them all is the stereotypical working class English slang that apparently all British people talk in, if you ask Wattpad writers, that is. Fourth, cringy sex scenes. And here we are at the final entry for today, smut. Smut is among the most popular categories in fanfiction, often shallow porn without any plot, at least not sensible one, and sometimes the climax of a slow burn fanfic that has over 70 chapters. But writing good smut and bad smut are two completely different things. Good smut makes sense. It is a realistic depiction of sex where characters share a very intimate moment, heightened by strong emotions and passion. But a bad smut is laughable at best. Sex scenes are badly written if the readers are confused if the author has even the slightest sense of how sex actually works. Think of all the sex scenes in the most famous Twilight fanfic, 50 Shades of Grey. Did I say Twilight? I definitely meant 50 Shades of Grey. Keep in mind that most bad smut is written by inexperienced and younger folk, which does not excuse E.L. James from this crime, since she was approximately 48 years old when she published the first part of the book. The more famous excerpts from the book became popular among narrators who did their own dramatic readings. You can take a look right here.
Keep still, he orders, and slowly he inserts his thumb inside me, rotating it around and around, stroking the front wall of my vagina. No fisting, you say? Anything else you object to? I agree to the fisting, but I'd really like to claim your ass.
Now that we covered the elements that make one fanfic bad, let's talk about why people enjoy reading bad fanfiction. People have always had this strange fascination with bad art, and there is actually a term for it. Wikipedia defines the term camp as an aesthetic style and sensibility that regards something as appealing because of its bad taste and ironic value. Any form of art that is consumed in an ironic way can be viewed as campy. This also applies to fanfiction. Without any desire to sound like a snob, we basically like bad art and bad fanfiction because we find it funny. When we look at it objectively, there isn't much difference between a midnight projection of The Room, one of the best, worst movies ever made, and cackling at 3 a.m. while reading My Immortal in your bed. The difference between the two is the medium. The reaction is the same. The so bad it's good trope is easily applied to guilty pleasure fanfiction works that we like to consume when we are in the need of a good laugh. Reading bad fanfiction can also be very reassuring to young writers and content creators. It gives us a sense of relief and makes us feel better about ourselves. As a young author who is just beginning to delve into the complex world of creative writing, seeing other people publish their own stories that aren't professionally written can fuel your creative fire, help you evolve your writing style, and push you not to be overly critical of yourself and your work. We've all been there, doubted if we should publish an article, chapter, or even a video because we thought it might not be good enough for a larger audience. But you know what? Enough of that. It's time to defeat your inner saboteur and just do it. Do you feel like writing a 80k fanfic about Supernatural? Do it! Write your own story and publish it. The worst thing that can happen is that some people just won't like it. But guess what? That is always going to happen. Your work will never be everybody's cup of tea. But to those who enjoy your specific blend of content, your work will be precious and cherished. That's all for today's video. I hope y'all are having a great day so far. Don't forget to be easier on yourselves, drink a lot of water, and continue working hard for your dreams. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot to me if you liked it and subscribe to my channel for more similar content. And until next time, bye-bye.